Hi, I'm Lydia Smith from Niab. I just want to tell you about some of the work we've been doing with baby leaf salads. So here we've got some spinach and some rocket. First of all, we'll go through the spinach. At the moment, most of the cultivation of baby leaf spinach is in the field. But we're very interested to find out whether it would be possible to change that cultivation to a hydroponic style. So simply, you're taking it off a solid medium, be it soil or some other kind of growing medium, and then putting it into a liquid nutrient medium. So essentially the plant is growing in water which contains all the relevant nutrients that it needs to grow. And you still get the same plant, and in theory you can still get absolutely the same nutrient quantity and quality in the plant, but you have all sorts of possible improvements in what the farmer is able to do, and things like shelf life that they will get out of the crop. So for example, this has been watered within the last few hours, and I can see straight away some of the lower leaves have got quite a few particles of soil on them. And this is exactly what you'd expect in the field, actually probably a lot worse, because this is a fairly solid structured medium, but mostly these kind of crops are grown in very light sandy soils. So if you have a really serious rainstorm just before the point at which they are harvested, you will get that spray up of particles that particularly will get on some of the lower leaves. And this is an issue because nobody wants to get a mouthful of grit in their salad, and furthermore, when you come and harvest the leaves, you know, you're going to come in with something that's not dissimilar from a giant lawnmower. It will harvest quite deep into the crop, and so you will have cut surfaces that are then in contact with those soil particles. And so when that goes into the packets that we're used to in the supermarket, those cut surfaces will have been in contact with the soil, and potentially the speed at which the leaves will then die or become potentially infected with fungi and other types of species of microorganism, they will become degraded, and you get that typical kind of slimy leaf in your salad, which makes the whole thing pretty much unpalatable. But if you have these growing on a soil system, everything is there. You don't have to have all sorts of complicated infrastructure like you see here in the greenhouse. So we also want to see whether this is economically viable. All of that, I guess, is in the future. Here we've got three different varieties. We've got Helios, Woodpecker and Goanna. These just happen to be three that we chose pretty much at random of some top varieties that are available. We're working with all sorts of local breeders and even international breeders, including our friends at Elsams and Tozers and Syngenta, but many others are there. Now we have a set of different varieties of rocket here. So this is another one of these baby leaf components that you find either in mixtures, or quite often with rocket you find it just on its own in a packet. And if you think back about 10 years, probably even less, you would hardly have been able to find these. So these are crops that have really found their place in supermarkets in these mixed salad bags, and as I say, individually. Now we're looking at taking these crops off the field and looking at whether they respond in a hydroponic type of cultivation. But it's really important to decide whether the impact of that change in cultivation has either a positive or maybe even a negative effect on the way that the crop then presents. And that could be in terms of the biomass, but it also could be in terms of what the leaf looks like, and most importantly, what its flavour is like. So we've taken a range of the many varieties that are out there. We've got Sweet Intensity, Wildfire, Artemis and Astra. These again are just a very small subset of the many varieties of rocket that are available for farmers, and you can see immediately that the leaf shape and the type is really different for these, and these are the sort of things that farmers are looking at, because clearly with this one you've got potentially a bigger biomass, but this is the kind of leaf that people are sort of expecting to see in rocket. And interestingly, we know that when you come to the second and the third cut, so these rocket varieties are usually cut sequentially. You'll take a harvest, you'll let the plant grow back up again, and then you'll reharvest. And when you reharvest the second or third time, you quite often get this more diffuse type of leaf structure, and that's quite often associated with that rather nice peppery flavour that you get with rocket. So these are ready to eat. They're only a few weeks old. It's a very different thing from the sort of cropping that farmers are used to, where you might sow in the spring and wait right through the summer. We're talking about 8 weeks to 10 weeks, depending on the season, before these reach maturity. If you stress the plant, then you quite often get that peppery flavour comes out better. And so maybe there's something that we can do in the hydroponic system where we have a much better control of precisely what the nutrients are in terms of what's coming in and the quantity, and maybe you can even introduce another component like a little bit of saltiness, which will stress the plant and might give you that little bit of pepperiness. So maybe we can get that same pepperiness that you would only get in the second or third cut in the first cut. And that would be great for farmers, because that pepperiness is what the customer apparently wants, and there's a slight premium in terms of price that the farmer can get out of that. So this is all work that's in the future, but at the moment, hats off to the breeders. They've given us a wonderful array of different varieties that we can start with, and they're as interested as we are in finding out what will be the outcome when we take it off the soil and into a hydroponic system.